Hey, welcome to this conversation today. The world is yours. Your world is yours. And I heard something the other day. I attended a conference yesterday, and there was an interesting process presented about one way to look at how our mind works, right? Now, data goes into our minds, right? And there's four kinds of data. Data number one is objective sensory input. In other words, the stuff that we hear or see, taste, touch, feel, that kind of stuff. Objective sensory input. Now, most of that, there is some, at least, supposition that every single thing goes in, right? Every single thing goes into our mind. So if you're driving down the freeway and you're looking over there and you see license plates, all those numbers go in your head. You can't remember them. You can't find them, right? They're in there, but they were recorded by the amazing data that we have or sounds that we hear. We know that some of that becomes available if people go do, hypnosis sessions or other kinds of things. Then suddenly things that were in there that we couldn't remember become available. So we know our amazing devices record everything, but that's not what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about creating your world because you own your world. The type 2 of data that goes in there is the same kind of data, but it is subjective sensory data. And what I mean by that is something happens. We hear something, we see something, there's some kind of interaction, but instead of it just being some kind of faceless stuff that just goes by, it is stamped with a red stamp, clunk, and it is some kind of emotion. Right? Some kind of emotion. So you might see a crazy vanity plate, or a car might drive by and it is a totally weird color. And it causes some kind of reaction. So data goes in that's also through the senses. But the difference is it is stamped on the way in with some kind of emotion. And the bigger that stamp is, the more recallable, available, visceral, right here, right now it is. So if someone drives by you, I'm going to sneeze, so hang on just a second. Sorry. Just one today. Maybe. Ooh, who knows? So if you go by, you're driving down the road and someone moves over a little bit and then moves back in your lane, momentarily it causes a reaction because you're thinking, okay. But it was not severe, so you kind of remember it, but not severely. On the other hand, same situation. Somebody drives a little in your lane and you've got to swerve and it's nearly an accident, or maybe it even is an accident. That's stamped with a great big red stamp. And so how much we remember of those kinds of things is directly proportional to the level of emotion that we attach to it, that it gets stamped with. Now, our view of something is only our view, because you know the story. 10 people see an accident and there's 10 stories about it. So I'm not talking about objective reality out there that some are, I'm talking about what you experience in your life or what I experience. And this is really important because the world is yours. You create your world is directly and exactly tied to this. So if I hear someone talking and I think they're talking about me, or I hear them talking about me, that's stamped with a certain emotion. Someone else hears that and hears them talking about me. It's not the same experience at all. So my experience of that situation is completely different than someone else's. And in that way, I have created a reality. Somebody doesn't like me, somebody this, that, and the other, that for somebody else who saw and heard the same thing, it's not even true, not even there. Okay, here's the bottom line, and there's two other kinds of data, and I'll give you those in a minute. You and I, we create our world. We create it by how we stamp the information that comes in. Now, type 3 data is two things that are already in us that we combine in some way. So let's say you're working on your marketing, and I use this because I'm a business coach, and I help a lot of people with this kind of stuff. And they have an idea about a product or service or something about their target market, something that they're trying to create or sell for somebody. They have an idea about it. And then suddenly in a conversation, we combine two things. And in their mind, right then, they see a connection that wasn't there before. And they get all excited because, wow, I could do this. Now, that isn't any new data. That isn't any new fact. It is simply a combination of facts that then creates a new big thing. And usually, not always, but often those things are stamped, again, with high emotion. That could be really valuable. It could change my marketing. I could help more people, make more sales, whatever it is. And the fourth kind is data that isn't, it comes in from outside, but it's data that's not perceived by the senses, but it's inventions that we create. And the example that was given yesterday was if you walk into a restaurant and you're there to meet some people and they're over there, and you walk in and you see them laughing, they're together in the back of the restaurant, and then when they see you, there's a momentary pause, and then they start laughing even harder. Now, you might make something out of that. The data was laughing, pause, laughing. That's it. But you could create something. They're laughing at me or whatever, and you actually have no idea what happened. So those are the four things. But the point of my sharing that with you is, and all of those are nuanced in some ways, but all of the stamps, which is the level of emotion, the level of significance, it also affects our level of recallability, how well we can remember it. All of those are invented. I invented the stamp on the first set of sensory data. The second thing's where I combine new things. I decide if that's important. Right? Oh, wow, that could be a game changer for anything. A new way to make money, a way to fix a relationship, some kind of new thing that comes from combination. And the third thing is that sort of invention that I create. My point in mentioning that is no matter where it comes from, I create life. I create my life, and so do you. And that means the world is yours. Okay, a few months ago we had an election, and there's still a lot of furor, and I live in Canada, right? But I'm just watching the U.S. because Joy and I are also U.S. citizens. And people are, crazy. One side seems gleeful and the other side seems hateful. But that's all an invention. That's all an invention. It is an interpretation of those events. And so you and I, we live from our interpretations. Now, I'm not going to go into politics because that's one of those things that everyone has their own opinion, and that's fine. But I want to use that truth that everyone has their own opinion to help you create joy for yourself. I get to decide every single day when I get up, and I do decide this. I am going to have a great day. Today is the best day of my life. It is the best day in the universe. I'm going to love every minute today, and I'm going to start with loving myself. Yum! It's a beautiful day. Now, I usually get up at 5 o'clock, and I have an alarm set, but I rarely use it because today I woke up at 4:56. My body's in the habit of doing that, which is less fun on the weekends because I usually sleep in an extra hour or two sometimes to get, fully rested and caught up on sleep. But here's the thing. I get to, and so I wake up anyway sometimes, and then I luxuriously get to go back to sleep for an hour or two, depending on the day. I get to choose my experience today. I have learned how to choose joy every day, every time. Would you like to know how to do that? I would love to show you. There's a book that I wrote called Living with Purpose and Power. Living with Purpose and Power. In that book, I reveal everything that I know, and it's way too long for me to say here, but it is ways that you and I use them every day, can choose to have joy every day. I feel like the world, the universe, every person I meet is working for me. And I don't mean working for me, but I mean it's all coming together to create beauty and power and results. You can have that. My goal right now this year, this, is to reach 300 million people. Why would I set that goal? Somebody asked me that yesterday. Why would you set that goal? Because I'm committed to love 300 million people. I'm committed to help 300 million people realize that they've got control over their lives. They're not a victim. You're not a victim unless you want it. Learned helplessness is just that. Learned helplessness. I can't is a story. We don't think that way when we're little. We learn that. And now we can unlearn it. Learned helplessness, entitlement, victim mentality, those are all true things, and they can be undone. Just like I can learn to play the piano better, or learn to play tennis, or learn to speak differently, learn a new language, etc. The question comes, are we willing to do what it takes to learn it? Or unlearn it in many cases. So I struggled for decades with not good enough, I can't, it'll never happen for me, some version of that. And that caused a lot of self-sabotage. Decades of depression and of struggle was my life. I leaned into that, I believed it, and I lived in misery. Then some things changed for me. I became aware that I can choose something different. Now, it wasn't automatic and it wasn't easy, but I began that process. And that is what sparked my life passion now. I only do one thing. I speak, I sing, I tell stories, and I coach people like you, 300 million this year, to take control of your own life. Stop giving away control to stories, to old situations, to other people, to perceived, handicaps or barriers, and own your life. And that is possible even if you've got, my eyes are 2,500. I wear hearing aids. I've got arthritis, and so I walk with a cane. I don't care. I love my life. It's beautiful. It's fabulous. And I'm on a mission to help you. So if I can help you in some way create a life of purpose, prosperity, and joy, please reach out. Let's talk. I'm inviting you to chat. KellanFlukigerMedia.com is one of the URLs here on the screen. Go there. There's a contact form. Let's talk. My whole life is dedicated to helping people connect with and own their own lives so you can create whatever you want. Or you're free to go through life limited by the things you choose to believe are possible. One of the things that has changed most profoundly is I no longer believe in limits. Boy, that was a hard one for me to get rid of, but I don't believe in those anymore. And consequently, I have the experience of creating things that are limitless, that were way past stuff I used to believe was possible. But all that operative word there is just believe. I believed that. So it was true. I believe new things now. And the world is my oyster and yours. I don't have a monopoly. And there is enough and to spare, which means you right here, right now can have whatever you want. The only question for me or for you is, am I or are you willing to do what it takes to create it? The energy is there, the wisdom is there, the knowledge, the capability to live with purpose, prosperity, and joy. Every day, not someday, today. The world is yours. I love you. You are amazing. Let's change the world. We'll see you tomorrow.